Hey everybody, I'm Mike with Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and this is The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. It's time to join the conversation.
Tax day. Today's the day the Titanic sank. Yeah, that's the day the Titanic sank. Ah, okay.
Huh. You might have something muted, and that might be the whole thing. Your output's probably muted. Well, check it. Don't automatically discount it. Look first. Okay, they can hear us out there, but they can't hear you.
Budget is muted.
Oh! Roll call. Why don't we just take over Budget show today?
We could do that.
Welcome back to Rants and Raves Thursday edition.
Thursday edition with Squib as guest, and Squib wants to, tell us all about the things Squib wants to rant about tonight.
Yeah, about all I can rant about is all the excuses people keep coming up with because of the Coco uh-oh.
Yeah, right.
Budget will get this. He's had the diddlies before. He'll get over them.
I don't know, Squib. I've heard about that they want to add 4 more Supreme Court justices. I figured that would set you off.
I mean, want to and have are two different things. And the Supreme Court is no good to us, so I don't care how many they put in there. They're all
Now can you hear me? Nobody audio now. Okay. Awesome. Well, screw you guys. Okay. Yes. Now they hear me. Now do they hear you guys? So you guys talk. Nobody audio now. Okay. Awesome. Well, yes, they can hear me. Okay. You guys start talking, seriously. Yes. I don't know. Right now, just nothing. I don't care. Now they hear me. Now do they hear you guys? So you guys talk. Nobody audio now. Okay. Awesome. Yes, they can hear me. You guys start talking, seriously. I don't know. Right now, just nothing. I don't care. God, this is a shit show. I'm sorry, folks. I know what happened. I took this laptop with me to Tulsa so I could download video and whatnot from it to clear out my memory cards on my cameras. And, yeah, I forgot to save my settings and all that crap. So this is the first time I plugged everything back in. I didn't realize that it would cause such chaos and confusion. So hopefully we'll get back to my... This is a shit show. I'm sorry, folks. I know what happened. I took this laptop with me to Tulsa so I could download video and whatnot from it to clear out my memory cards on my cameras. And, yeah, I forgot to save my settings and all that crap. So this is the first time I plugged everything back in. I didn't realize that it would cause such chaos and confusion. So hopefully we'll get back to my... Yeah, I know you guys are hearing the delay. No, that's not working yet either. What the hell? Why is the system not working?
Camera, and they work great.
I'll get it right eventually. I hope.
With the batteries I've got, I can record over 24 hours of film.
Yeah, I know you guys
with that camcorder. Without it going and overheating.
What the hell? Why is the system not working?
Like cell phones do.
The hell of it is, Defense Dad, this isn't Radio Shack equipment. I'll get it right eventually.
No, it's budget equipment. It's worse.
Woohoo! I got it right! Yay! It's working.
Is it?
Yeah. Woohoo! All right.
right, so forget everything that just happened, okay? None of this happened. This is all a figment of your imagination. You guys were standing too close to the Super 8 in St. Clair, Missouri. So none of that shit happened.
Yeah, tell that to the holy sheets.
Yeah, it's got the brain-eating virus.
So now we'll just do the intro again. None of that happened.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike with Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and this is The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. It's time to join the conversation.
So, I'm Mike with Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and this is The Right of the People. Even though it is not Friday, it is, in fact, Thursday, April 15th, 2021. Yes, it is tax day, but as I said earlier, which never happened, remember, because y'all didn't hear it, I will be more gentle with you than the government will. But before we get into all that, I would like to welcome...
Actually, they pushed tax day back to May.
Yeah, but traditionally, this is still tax day. So.
Right. But I just figured I'd mention that.
Mike Warhorse says no way he's forgetting. Oh, come on. Okay, well, I would like to welcome the irascible yet lovable one, Squibload. How are you, sir?
Well, traditionally this may be tax day, but historically this is the day the Titanic sank.
Woohoo! I would like to welcome my road trip buddy, Rocall 219.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
And the king of hecklers himself, Night Strike. How are you, sir?
Well, I tell you, I'm doing a lot better than that hotel room.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, man.
Anything's doing better in that hotel room.
I heard that live stream, and I heard roll call, just literally dying in the navigator seat. I was just thinking, did we miss channels? Am I on rants and raves? Because you really didn't pull any punches.
Oh, believe me, I was holding back.
Yeah, I know. I heard you're going to do a review on your channel, and I'm like,
I am.
I don't know. I don't know if you could do a PG or a PG-13 review of that.
No, I'm going to waive my self-imposed rules of decorum for that one.
Ooh,
because it has to be done. Because that's just vile. Vile.
Yeah. So I'm here. So
good.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no problem, man. Glad to have you. So speaking of vile, turn that down, all that shit. Let's go to this. It seems like our wonderful friends in the national legislature have decided to do unto us yet again. This is from captainsjournal.com from 17 hours 23 minutes ago. National Firearms Act Modernization Act. From guns.com. On April 8th, U.S. Representative Jamie Raskin, Democrat, Maryland, announced two new gun control proposals, H.R. 2426 and H.R. 2427. The former deals with making it illegal to give a firearm to someone who has had their state license to possess or purchase firearms revoked. The latter is termed the National Firearms Act Modernization Act and aims to increase the tax rates on NFA-regulated items such as machine guns, short-barreled rifles and shotguns, and suppressors. Noting that the tax amounts in the NFA, established in 1934, have not changed since enacted. For instance, $200 in 1934 would be the equivalent of $3,925 in 2021. Raskin's proposal would immediately bump the rates by 50%. This would make the basic $200 tax stamps on most NFA transfers $300 moving forward. After that, the rate would increase in line annually with the federal cost of living adjustment. At the same time that Raskin's tax spike scheme was being unveiled, President Biden was announcing that he would order the Justice Department to issue a proposed rule within 60 days to make clear when a device marketed as a stabilizing brace effectively turns a pistol into a short-barreled rifle, subject to the requirements of the National Firearms Act. Just keeping you informed. This is what your betters expect you to do. So, yep, let's make sure that we contact our representatives about that, because I don't know about you, but I got several of these things. I don't want to pay no $300 a piece registration bullshit, which is unconstitutional to begin with.
I'm not doing it regardless.
MK Joe says, I'm sorry, he's from my district. Well, get his ass voted out. Work harder.
Yeah, in Maryland. Really?
Yeah, I know, right? Pretty much a losing
That's like
proposition.
asking New York or California to elect a pro-gun Republican senator.
Jacob S. is like, so are they really increasing the tax stamp? Razor JB says, that live stream was YouTube gold. Best video on YouTube in damn near a decade. Hell, I almost pissed myself. Well, I'm glad you were entertained. I was horrified. But I guess my horror is entertaining. So that's okay.
No, you weren't horrified. You'd gone past horrified and gone straight into I am super pissed off level.
I was very indignant and horrified and traumatized and just, everything, man. It was just terrible. It was terrible, terrible.
I mean, you may have been horrified at the beginning, but it went straight into you were super pissed off.
Yeah, well, that's how things like that translate with me. That's how they get expressed. If I'm scared, I get mad. If I'm upset, I get mad. If I'm sad, I get mad. That's just how it manifests.
Budget, you may have an anger management problem.
No, I manage to get angry all the time. It's all right.
No, he might be pregnant, though.
Noah, I just look at... well, of course, after stepping foot in that hotel room and sitting down on that chair, it's a possibility. I know if I'd laid my head on that pillow, my ear probably would have got pregnant.
We never did find out what that white substance on that chair was.
I don't want to know. Defense Dad says this proposed crap is part of the reason I've bought some different stuff lately. Still fun guns, though. Yeah, all guns are fun. But, Merca, right? Freedom. Why the hell would they... Never mind, I know why.
You mean we used to have freedom?
Yeah. It has been eroded away, but it started being eroded away a long time ago. This isn't necessarily the beginning of that. This is just yet another step down that road. And speaking of yet another step down that road, this is a piece from Menendez.senate.gov. Menendez Deutsch renew push to ban high-capacity gun magazines. The bolder gunman used a Ruger AR-556 pistol, which holds 30 rounds. Washington, D.C.
No.
U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, Democrat, New Jersey, and Congressman Ted Deutsch, Democrat, Florida, today reintroduced the Keep Americans Safe Act, renewing a concerted effort to ban the importation, sale, manufacturing, transfer, or possession of gun magazines that hold more than 10 rounds of ammunition. Because, if it's 10 or under, that magically renders everything safe and running on unicorn farts, right? These high-capacity magazines are designed for shooting and killing en masse and have been the accessory of choice in some of the bloodiest mass shootings in America. No, I don't think they had that at Wounded Knee, although they did at Waco.
Oh, wow. Look at Rich White's comment.
If I laid down on that bed, I would have been likely to have found a corpse. Yeah, probably. The introduction of this bill comes days before the 14th anniversary of the Virginia Tech shooting and the 22nd anniversary of the Columbine High School shooting, two of the deadliest mass shootings in American history, perpetrated by mass shooters equipped with high-capacity magazines and exploited by scumbag fucking politicians like you.
Stop right there. Both of those mass murders, they didn't use standard capacity or above standard capacity magazines.
Yeah, I didn't think they
So,
did.
right
They
there
didn't.
and there,
They didn't
there's
have them in
whoever wrote
Columbine.
Whoever wrote this
Is a lying
is
son of a
ignorant.
bitch.
They're ignorant.
No,
Get your facts straight before you write an article that everybody can read.
Squib, I would prefer to believe that they're just simply a lying son of a bitch. They know. Didn't the Cho fella at Virginia Tech, he used a Glock, which I think, or did he, in Virginia at the time, were they limited to 10-round magazines? I know he used a Glock and a .22 pistol for that one, but I can't remember exactly what
Even
ones.
if he had a 12 or 15 or 17, that's a standard capacity. It's not high capacity.
Correct.
And the kids at Columbine, as far as I know, if I remember correctly, they didn't have anything that had more than 10 rounds, but it's not because...
No, they had high point carbines.
But it's not because they didn't have access to stuff that could... It's just they didn't use that. Everybody seems to think that in the 1990s you couldn't get a 15 or 30 round mag. You could all day long.
Yeah.
They were cheaper than the low capacity magazine. A standard capacity magazine that was made before the law went into effect was actually cheaper than the low capacity magazine made after the law went into effect. But this is where, you know, whether he's trying to push an agenda or she, whoever wrote this article, is trying to push an agenda, or they're just plain ignorant. People don't understand this stuff, and it's up to us as good ambassadors to, on occasion, have those conversations where we point out the truth, the facts, as opposed to this bullshit fiction that's written and taken as fact.
We stand today with families and countless communities across America that have felt the despair of losing a loved one, friend, or neighbor in a mass shooting executed with guns equipped with a high-capacity magazine. High-capacity magazines are good for one thing and one thing only: high-capacity killing, said Senator Menendez. The Keep Americans Safe Act is a common-sense piece of legislation that will save lives and will finally limit the sale of large-capacity magazines that are designed for killing as many people as possible without having to stop and reload. We can no longer afford to do nothing as the scourge of gun violence continues to ravage communities across the country, and must address this as the real emergency that it is. I commend President Biden's executive actions on gun violence, which will protect our communities and save lives, but they cannot take the place of congressional action, Representative Deutsch said. As President Biden told the country, there is absolutely no need for high-capacity magazines that can hold 100 rounds, 50 rounds, or 30 rounds. Not for sport, not for self-defense, not for law-abiding gun owners. These are the magazines of choice in mass shootings because they maximize human casualties. This bill helps to significantly reduce the number of casualties in horrific mass shootings that have returned to the headlines in recent weeks. Congress must not turn away from these tragedies. We must take action to save lives. These guys are such jackasses. The Keep Americans Safe Act is co-sponsored by Senators Dianne Feinstein, Sheldon Whitehouse, Richard Blumenthal, Chris Murphy, Ed Markey, Jeff Merkley, Jack Reed, Elizabeth Warren, Jackie Rosen, Catherine Cortez Masto, Angus King, Cory Booker, Tammy Duckworth, Tom Carper, Dick Durbin, Chris Coons, Ben Cardin, Amy Klobuchar, Alex Padilla, Bob Casey, Tim Kaine, Bernie Sanders, Patty Murray, Mazie Hirono, and Chris Van Hollen. In the House, Representatives Diana DeGette and Tina Titus joined Representative Deutsch as original co-sponsors of this legislation. And every single one of them, except Bernie, had a D behind their name. Bernie had an I because, you know, Democrats aren't left enough for him. In addition to prohibiting large-capacity ammunition magazines, this bill includes the following provisions. Provide limited exceptions for devices possessed before enactment for certain current and former law enforcement personnel, for certain atomic energy personnel and purpose, for tubular devices that can only accept .22 rimfire ammunition, and for certain authorized testing or experimentation. Modifies the high-capacity definition to prevent coupled or joined magazines. Authorizes a buyback program for high-capacity magazines using burn JAG grants. requires devices manufactured after enactment to have a conspicuous serial numbers and date of manufacturer to help law enforcement identify restricted magazines, harmonizes forfeiture provisions for magazines with current law. Currently, FBI and ATF can seize and destroy certain firearms, but not high-capacity magazines. The legislation is supported by the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, Everytown, March for Our Lives, Change the Ref, Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, Center for American Progress, and Violence Policy Center, Orange Ribbons for Gun Safety. Good Lord. So, yeah, on and on and on. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. Exploitation after exploitation of atrocity. These people stop at nothing to further their own twisted schemes and agenda because they know that you, being legally armed, stands in the way of what they want to do. And I have to ask you this. Consider, what is it that they have planned that they fear you being armed? I know this is the same shit they introduce every session. This guy has introduced this every session for quite some time. But with the way things are rolling right now, with the push that they have, with the exploitation of these atrocities, with having the Senate, the House, and the White House, with their threat to pack the court and destroy the legislative filibuster, it has a little bit more urgency than it usually does. Again, I'm not saying that the sky is falling here, that they're going to put more taxes on my NFA. They're going to take away my 30-round magazines. I'm not saying all that shit. What I am saying is we still have to put the pressure on the people that actually make these votes. We have to put the pressure on our congressmen. We have to put the pressure on our senators. We have to let all of them know that there will be consequences and repercussions if they do this. Be polite. Be professional. Don't be threatening. Don't be cussing and fussing. Give logical, well-reasoned arguments for it, but make sure you contact them and let them know. The only way that we will get attention is if a lot of us do it and we keep the pressure up. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I underreacting? Am I overreacting? What do you guys think on this?
I don't think you're reacting enough.
Okay.
It's the same old game that these people have been playing for years. Now they have new tragedies to exploit because, you know, they never let those things go to waste.
Atrocities.
So now they're going to use this stuff to try and tax and legislate even more than what's already on the books. I've never understood that one way or another, how these people continuously stay in office. It's a disgrace, and these people should be ashamed of themselves.
Oh, here's a good little bit of data. Patriot in the Dark says that hotel is where the flood victims / meth heads stay. I mentioned it to my ex, and she laughed so hard. She's from St. Louis. Oh, okay.
It would have been nice to know that beforehand, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no kidding. Rich White says, ironic that the site of the Columbine murders, which happened during the Clinton AWB when 10-round mags were all that came with guns, that they cite the Columbine murders. Yeah. Rich also said if we'd laid down in that bed, we probably would have found a hooker.
Yeah.
And Defense Dad says, don't joke. Aunt and Uncle found a dead hooker under a hotel bed 30 years ago because there was a bad smell. They still get free hotel rooms at that chain today.
Yeah. I'm with Bill Alexander. You know,
when we go to Vegas, we flip over the mattress just to make sure.
He says, I am 1776% sure I am not filing any of this shite.
Absolutely right.
Exactly.
Ozzy says, it's not the Bill of Needs, it's the Bill of Rights. Absolutely correct. And besides this, who the fuck are you to tell me what I need and what I don't need? There's one.
You know what else is discouraging? When something goes wrong or there's a problem, it's always the populace's fault. It's never the people in charge. I don't see them imposing taxes on themselves.
It's
when
never the actual criminal who did the crime.
Yeah. I mean, it's so egregious to see these people do this. Some jackass does something wrong. Well, we're going to not penalize ourselves, but penalize all of you that are out there. Dude, I'm so sick of these people. I wish they would just retire and get the hell out of office. It's so discouraging. You know, nobody's talking about taxing their paychecks, but yet they tax our paychecks. Nobody's telling each other over there in Washington that they don't have a job anymore. No, they go say it to the people that are on the pipeline, or they shut down mom and pop shops, you know, and then they have to close. It's always our fault, and it's never their fault. They never claim any kind of responsibility for their dumb ass actions. And then when somebody does something out in the society that's not that, you know, pleasurable, it's everybody's fault. It's not this person's fault that actually did the crime. It's our fault. I'm tired of it.
How many feel-good laws do they create that don't actually resolve the issue that they're meant to create? And if anything, create 3 additional issues later on down the road. And like roll call saying, none of them accept responsibility and say, we made a mistake. We were wrong. We thought we were doing the right thing. We had everybody's best interest in heart. We didn't realize it was going to. No, they never said that. They never admit it. And then they almost never repeal those laws, and then they just want to add more laws and more laws and more laws, and so many of those backfire and backfire and backfire and make the situation worse. They talk about common sense all the time, but if you look at some of the stuff they propose, there's no common sense to it. The problem is so many people out there just want to be told what to think, what to do, what to say, how to act, what to believe, and people don't stand up. People who don't own guns, or people who say, I got mine, I don't care, they're not going to contact their representatives and say, hey, look, I voted for you last 2 times. I'm not voting for you a 3rd time if your name's on this bill. They're not going to do it. And they need to put the damn bag of Cheetos down and send an email. It doesn't take that long to do. You don't have to spend your money on gun rights organizations. You don't have to send money to these YouTubers. You don't have to go buy the T-shirt and go to the rally and wear your plate carrier and all that shit. It's as simple as going onto a website that you can Google and find and sending a message to your representative. And then you can go right back to binge watching, whatever the hell it is, and open up another bag of Cheetos. They don't do that.
You know, Squib, you need to have a Cheeto Man sticker made.
I actually have a family-sized bag of Cheetos next to my reload bench off camera that I was going to use as a prop for a video, but I never shot it. Yeah, if I do an actual Cheeto bag as a patch or something like that, I'll get a copyright infringement or some. I mean, look what they did with Rick, with the spotted Rick, right?
What? I hadn't heard that. Heard they got after Rick for that?
Yeah, so you've heard of Spotted Dick.
Yes.
The can of cake,
yes,
raisin cake or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, he took the Heinz logo for that and turned it into Spotted Rick. And he didn't get sued or nothing. He was just told, yeah, we can't make any more of these stickers because it's copyright infringement.
Apparently he didn't change it sufficiently.
I guess. So if I made it not look like a bag of Cheetos, people wouldn't know exactly what I meant by Cheeto Man. But I can put it in a non-monetized YouTube video that I don't really care if anybody watches.
There you go. So let's see. Roll call, that's life now. Shitty parenting and blaming everyone else for their kids' shortcomings and actions. People aren't taught morals and right and wrong a lot these days. Buck says they sweep it under the rug when they are wrong. Absolutely
You think?
right.
You think?
Rich White says you have to have shame before you can be ashamed of yourself.
Ooh, that's a good point.
And Gabriel asked, did we discuss the Texas House approving constitutional carry and expungement of gun possession charges? Nope, but we will. For those that don't know and who weren't part of the ginormous mammoth live stream that CloverTech did, watching this unfold as it happened, the Texas House voted today for constitutional carry, so now it has to go to the Texas Senate and then the governor, both of which are expected to pass it. So good for y'all down there in the Lone Star State. Also expunges records of people who have gun possession charges, so that they're not hemmed up in bullshit. So good for them. Good stuff for Texas.
There's some good news.
Well, there's more good news. We have other stuff happening that's good.
I mean, I'm happy for Texas, but now all those smug Texans can finally say that they have better gun laws in Michigan, because prior to this, they didn't.
Oh,
Now-
so what you really mean is you Michiganders can't go, I got better gun laws than Texas.
Wait.
Not after a couple signatures.
Squib, don't they have like a pistol purchase permit in Michigan?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have that in South Carolina.
Yeah, and you don't have open carry either.
No.
Okay.
No,
so we've
you
got
got
better
me
gun
there.
laws than you.
Well, it's there's pros
I
and
don't
cons
need
side
no
to side.
stinking permit to buy a gun, nor do I need a stinking permit to open carry in Ohio. Just saying.
Yeah, but you just got stand your ground laws, so shush.
Yeah, but we got stand your ground, so.
You finally got it.
But I am happy for the people in Texas. It's about damn time that, the thing is just I know enough Texans. Man, you guys are so smug. Oh, well. I guess I just need to get on the ball and, I don't know, move.
Well, yeah, okay.
I mean, not over the BS registration. Nobody cares about that thing. It's just that I got to go somewhere where I can one-up Texas. Dang.
See, I was on a live stream the other night, and there's this kid on there talking about, oh, I feel like we're losing everything. We're not losing everything. This stuff takes time. Look how long it took Texas to get constitutional carry, or at least from what I get from Clover, like it's never been this far. It's never gotten this far. This stuff takes time. It takes time, and it takes extraordinary effort to push these bills through and to have them signed in the first place. But to getting stuff this far, to the point where their constitutional carry is within their grasp, I mean, it takes time. Don't get frustrated over this stuff. Don't get frustrated over. We are winning. If you look at all the states that are implementing constitutional carry or permitless carry and all the good things that come along with the Second Amendment, this takes time and effort. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's a long time coming. Look at Indiana. Indiana has been fighting to get constitutional carry forever. And then all of a sudden it dies. It dies by the hands of Republicans. So if you think the DNR makes a difference, it doesn't. It doesn't make a damn difference. And you know what makes a difference? All of us. We make the difference. We make the decisions, not these lawmakers. And kudos to Texas and all the great folks that live in that state. I'm proud that they're pushing this forward.
Well, Roll Call, you bring up a good point. There are lots of people out there with an opinion, and they're entitled to their opinion. But their opinion is based on having very little experience in this. They only got involved after the last election. They only got involved after the election before that. They only got involved after they got their first gun. They only got involved after something happened to them, like they got mugged or they were in a riot or whatever it was. They only got involved in the past few years. And because of that, they think nothing happened until the day they got involved. I have dealt with so many of these people on our shows. I've dealt with so many of these people at rallies and things like that. They think there was no fight for the Second Amendment prior to the day that they woke up and goes, holy shit, I should do something. Dude, people were doing stuff before you got your head out of your ass and put down your bag of Cheetos. We're glad you put it down. We're glad you're involved. But if you want to have a good, I guess I was going to say argument, but be able to back up what you say when you're talking with these people who want to take away your rights. If you don't know what happened before you got involved, and not this BS that's out there too, all this stuff that people spread about the NRA did that and this and that and the other, not that they're saints, but there are lots of good things the NRA did that nobody ever talks about. Or some of the other things that have happened, like you couldn't buy an AR-15 during the assault AWB between 94 and 04, which is BS.
Yeah, you could. They just sucked.
No, you could buy a pre-ban. There were tons of them available.
You could.
It's just like people who still, oh, you can't own a machine gun. Well, as a matter of fact, actually, you can own a machine gun, and here's how. Blah 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 blah. Well, in the same sense,
be rich.
you need to know stuff like they almost put handguns on the NFA in 1934 and stuff like that. And no, you don't have to be rich to own a machine gun. They're not that expensive. But regardless, the whole point is that if you want to get involved, knowing what happened after you decided to get involved is great. But knowing how far we've come, your state might have been a may issue state. And when you decided to wake up and get involved, it had already become shall issue. And you probably thought it was shall issue for the past 100 years, and it wasn't. And those are little victories that Roll Call is talking about that maybe you're not aware of because you just haven't been doing this that long. So if you want to have more validity in what you say, take some time to study what has happened at the state level and the national level against us and for us.
Yeah, we are never, ever going to get everything back in one fell swoop. It isn't going to happen. It will not. It didn't get taken away from us in one fell swoop. It's not going to be won back in one fell swoop. We have to accept and glory and revel in these small victories here and these small victories there, because that's what adds up. The Second Amendment is definitely on the march. Defense Dad says it's not law yet, but our governor signed a proclamation making Nebraska a Second Amendment sanctuary state yesterday. That's progress, at least. And I agree. This is from WOWT.com. Governor Ricketts declares Nebraska a Second Amendment sanctuary state. This is from April 14th, today. Actually, yesterday. Governor Pete Ricketts on Wednesday signed a proclamation declaring Nebraska a Second Amendment sanctuary state. In the proclamation posted on the governor's website, Ricketts again attacks the Biden administration's recent push for new gun control measures and holds Congress accountable for the same. Nebraska will stand up against federal overreach and attempts to regulate gun ownership and use in the good life. The White House and U.S. Congress have announced their intention to pursue measures that would infringe on the right to keep and bear arms. A growing number of counties in Nebraska have declared themselves as Second Amendment sanctuary counties. Nebraska will continue to take any necessary step to defend our right to keep and bear arms. The governor's staff also posted a video of him signing the proclamation. Nebraska has always been a state that has supported our Second Amendment rights, Ricketts said in a video posted to his Facebook page. Democrats in Congress have been working to pass the first major gun control legislation in more than 2 decades with the support of President Biden, but are confronting a potentially insurmountable question over what rules should govern private sales and transfers. Well, that was a strange place to end the article. And then it shows the proclamation. It says, whereas the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects the right to keep and bear arms, and whereas Article 1 of the Nebraska State Constitution guarantees the right to keep and bear arms for security or defense of self, family, home, and others, and for lawful common defense, hunting, recreational use, and all other lawful purposes, and states that this right shall not be denied or infringed by the state or any subdivision thereof, and whereas the state of Nebraska has protected the right of Nebraskans to open carry and concealed carry, and whereas Nebraska will stand against federal overreach and attempts to regulate gun ownership and use in the good life, and whereas the White House and U.S. Congress have announced their intention to pursue measures that would infringe on the right to keep and bear arms, and whereas a growing number of counties in Nebraska have declared themselves as Second Amendment sanctuary counties, and whereas Nebraska will continue to take any necessary step to defend our right to keep and bear arms, now, therefore, I, Pete Ricketts, Governor of the state of Nebraska, do hereby proclaim the state of Nebraska as a Second Amendment sanctuary state, and I do hereby urge all citizens to take due note of the designation. So, good for y'all in Nebraska. It's awesome. You know, it's great to see our Second Amendment rights on the march in at the state level. Texas, Ohio, Nebraska, Tennessee, just to name a few where we've made some gains in recent days. I think it's awesome. Gunpowder Beauty says, I wish more states would follow that, Rich White. Outstanding. Rich White says West Virginia will also be doing away with state sales tax on ammo and firearms. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I heard about that the other day.
Scorch 1028 says during an ammo shortage, many Americans effectively cannot exercise their Second Amendment rights. Absolutely correct. I know you mentioned earlier the disproportionate effect that gun control has on lower income Americans. That's very true. Making it more expensive for people to own guns disproportionately affects the poor, and that is a fact. But they know that, and that's exactly the sort they don't want to have guns. Can't have the peasantry able to resist what their betters want them to do. This is a piece from Liberty Park Press. Politico poll on gun ownership. Majority of respondents not gun owners. For those who don't know, Politico recently did a poll where they said something like 2/3 of all of Americans are in favor of gun control. Well, you can make a poll results say whatever the hell you want it to as long as you crafted the poll correctly. And this piece by Dave Workman from yesterday kind of lays that out. Digging into a poll on gun ownership by Politico and Morning Consult that was reported in The Hill produced an interesting revelation. Just over 2/3 of the participants say nobody in their household owns a gun of any kind. So, when The Hill reported the results of this survey showed approximately 2 in 3 Americans said they support greater restrictions on gun ownership, should this be taken with a proverbial grain of salt? The Hill said the survey had a margin of error of 2 percentage points. The Politico Morning Consult poll was conducted April 9th through 12th and includes responses from 1,992 registered voters. But 1,327 of those respondents aren't gun owners, while only 665 said they live in a household where someone owns a firearm. But could the imbalance between gun owners and non-gun owners have been at least partly responsible for the way the numbers and percentages on certain questions break down? Here are some results. 45%, 896, think Democrats in Congress are trusted more than Republicans, who are trusted by 34%, 669, to handle gun policy. 46% think it is more important to limit gun ownership than it is to protect the right of Americans to own guns. 65% support banning so-called high-capacity magazines, while only 23% oppose such a ban. 64% support banning so-called assault weapons, while only 25% oppose a ban. 73% support requiring a 3-day waiting period on gun purchases, while only 17% oppose a wait. 72% want to require so-called safe storage of firearms, while 18% are opposed. 70% support creating a national database with information about each gun sale, while 20% do not, and 10% have no opinion. Interestingly, the numbers here break down closely along the lines of gun owners versus non-gun owners participating in the survey. Still, when it comes to repealing the Second Amendment, 55% oppose the idea, while 23% support a repeal, and 22% surprisingly have no opinion or simply don't know. So even non-gun owners, it appears, are not keen on the idea of erasing the amendment protecting the right to keep and bear arms from the Bill of Rights. Another interesting survey revelation was that more people blame Republicans in Congress than Democrats for mass shootings, and 21% blame Joe Biden, but 67% do not. 45% blame the National Rifle Association for mass shootings, while 76% blame illegal gun dealers, which is an odd result because in most recent mass shootings, the killers legally purchased guns from licensed dealers and passed background checks in the process. The NRA does not sell firearms, so perhaps it is the organization's policy of defending the Second Amendment that is blamed. So I have to think that it's no surprise that if 2/3 of the respondents of the polls don't own firearms, that 2/3 of the results are anti-gun. Kind of makes sense. And it just illustrates the point that depending upon who you ask, where you ask, how you frame the questions, there's all kinds of things that can go into skewing the results of a poll. That's why I think polls are pretty much worthless. In college, we had to do, in the sociology class, we had to do a poll about stuff, and, I found out real quick that it was extremely easy to skew results based on what questions you ask and who you ask. So, yeah, that comes as no surprise to me. Scorch 1028 says, I keep a 5-gallon container of gasoline in my garage. Should there be safe storage laws for our gasoline? Of course.
Gasoline, propane, or diesel.
Well, I tell you what, you leave propane alone now.
All right, Hank.
Oh.
But, yeah, they're going too far.
Bill Alexander says, figures do not lie, but liars can figure. I like that. I like that. Rich White says, I hated having to take sociology. Yeah, me too. It sucked.
I don't believe in the polls or any of that bull crap. You don't know who they're polling. You don't know what area they're polling. Don't give me that crap. I don't believe any polls.
No, polls are just stupid. They are useful tools to illustrate whatever point you want to make based on how you frame it. I mean, that's it. Who you ask, where you ask, what time you ask, what people you ask, and how you ask will affect everything. You can, if you manage to stage manage those things, you can get whatever results you want. So here's another study. We'll read the article here and see whether they use polls or some other objective means. Republican Study Committee, the right to make weapons is the right to be free. From April 14th, the Republican Study Committee responded to President Joe Biden's executive actions against ghost guns by contending that the right to make weapons is the right to be free. On April 8th, 2021, Breitbart News reported that Biden issued executive actions to fight what he called an epidemic of gun crime across the country. Those actions centered on gun controls for firearms, which the Democrats call ghost guns, AR pistols with stabilizer braces, and red flag laws, among other things. Biden also used the press conference to nominate Gabby Gifford's gun control affiliate David Chipman to head the ATF. In an email received by Breitbart News, RSC Chairman Jim Banks countered Biden's calls for new regulations on guns made from kits by saying homemade firearms, or ghost guns, are a long-standing tradition in America. Our country was founded by free men with handcrafted firearms. The right to make weapons is the right to be free. I can't disagree with that.
You got to figure how many gunsmiths or even blacksmiths of the time of the Revolution made their own Kentucky rifles to fight in the Revolution. You got to figure out, at least I'm not going to say all of them. I'm going to say maybe like 10% of them.
That's still a significant number.
Yeah.
Banks also addressed Biden's call for action against AR pistols with stabilizing braces, saying Biden's actions on pistol braces would take millions of the most popular firearms accessories on the market and make them illegal, and their owners felons by executive fiat. He noted, the ATF repeatedly told sports shooters and collectors everywhere these pistol braces were legal. The federal government must stop playing games with the Second Amendment rights of Americans, including the pro-gun community. Biden has a history of infringement going back to his days in the Senate. This betrayal of the American people could force them to either spend $200, well, depending on whether or not they pass that law, right? And place their gun on a registry, or risk becoming a felon and lose everything. Stripping Americans' freedom to customize their firearms won't affect how criminals use these firearms in crimes. Banks also explained the dangers of Biden's push for red flag laws. Democrats' red flag law proposals are an affront to the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments. No right should ever be stripped from free and law-abiding Americans by an anonymous report with a low standard of evidence and no penalty for false reporting. He added, it is disturbing that the Biden administration would nominate David Chipman to lead the ATF, who not only made a career of advocating for the restriction of Americans' liberties, but also was present and took part in the ATF's failed operation in Waco in 1993, which, in my opinion, makes him a murdering bastard. But I digress.
Well, how do you murder people that commit suicide?
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. I forgot the official version.
Hold on. Do we know if any of them died of COVID?
Yes, it was probably all COVID. Scorch 1028 says the Viet Cong made working firearms out of scraps they found in junkyards. Yes, they did.
They did.
So, moving on, once I can get to the next topico.
You mean we've got more?
We have one more topic.
Oh my.
And then we move on to the fun stuff. Capacity Instruments of Death. This is from National File. The only stores left untouched in Minneapolis area riots were guarded by armed civilians. There were riots in Minneapolis? Why wasn't this all over the news? Oh.
Because it doesn't
Wait.
fit the narrative.
Yeah, it doesn't further their agenda. Rioters promising revolution shy away from conflict with vigilant armed citizens by Gabriel Keene, April 13th, 2021. On Tuesday night, a second round of riots and looting took place in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, which is not far from the riot and crime-ridden city of Minneapolis. Footage of Dollar Tree and other storefronts being burglarized in acts of civil protest against racial injustice. Damn those oppressive Dollar Trees! Circulated online, and gunshots were routinely heard in the distance. A few stores in Brooklyn Center were left unmolested, however. Businesses guarded out front by armed civilians. Despite calls to violent revolution by looters, they did not appear interested in confrontation with determined shopkeepers. This is a tweet by Julio Rosas. It says, because officers were occupied with guarding the Brooklyn Center police building, stores nearby, like this Dollar Tree, was ransacked by looters. Let's watch a little bit of that video. There's a Dollar Tree with a bunch of hoodie-wearing dudes in masks going in, and, it's like they won that shopping spree, right? Tear shit up, destroy shit, steal everything, because the Dollar Tree is a tool of oppression. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're oppressing them with their low prices.
Also by Julio Rosas, some Brooklyn Center stores are being protected by civilians with firearms. The looters have stayed away from those places, and it shows a couple guys outside a storefront that's been boarded up, and they're wearing plate carriers and carrying AR-15s.
Gee, I wonder why the looters have stayed shy of those
Let me see.
places.
Is this one guy carrying an AR-15 pistol with a brace?
No.
He's a terrorist. Gotta be. Where is it? Let me click on it.
I think we got our definition switched around.
Let's see. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. That is an AR-15 pistol with a brace. He must be there to loot the place. He's there to kill as many people as he possibly can, as quickly as possible. Of course, I'm being facetious.
I don't see it.
As National File previously reported, many local businesses were also ransacked during Sunday night's riots. The situation in the Minneapolis area has continued to deteriorate since riots began late Sunday afternoon. Multiple videos of rioting, looting, and general mayhem have spread across social media, sparked by a police officer shooting a man after he was discovered to be the subject to an arrest warrant during a traffic stop and then attempted to flee police. Several area businesses in Minneapolis and nearby Brooklyn Center were trashed and looted after the police shooting left a man wanted for arrest dead and his female passenger in the hospital due to wounds sustained in the brief car chase. Stores looted included a Walmart, CVS, Foot Locker, Little Caesars, and what appear to be several local businesses. After several hours of sustained violence, police officially acknowledged the riot and began employing crowd control measures, including tear gas and flashbangs, to disperse the throngs of rioters. Yeah, that's CVS.
Hold up. Go back to the beginning of that paragraph.
After several hours of sustained violence, police officially acknowledged the riot. Nope. There's no riot.
Hours to get off their ass and enforce the law. This is why you need arms, people.
This is why you need arms with quote-unquote high capacity, which are actually standard capacity, magazines. Because you may be faced with an angry mob bent on destruction, willing to kill and destroy anyone and anything in its path. And all you have is you and your rifle. I don't know about the old Joe, but that buy shotgun isn't going to work in that situation.
Yeah, double barrel shotgun won't help you because you only have 2 shots.
Paul G says, ooh, scary black rifles. Bill Alexander says, Debor roof Koreans. New York Outcast says, that guy looks like Squib. A-Dubs was talking about the Khyber Pass region in Afghanistan that is known worldwide for their ghost guns. Yeah, they make all kind of crap.
They do. They do.
Scorch says it's ironic that many of the same feminists who cite college campus rape statistics are against females carrying guns on university campus. I know, you would think that a feminist would be all for women having the means to stand up against their male oppressors. I mean, it just makes sense, but no.
No, they just want you to be more victims than statistics so they can further their own agendas. Who's that sound like?
Bing. Got it in one.
Man, I'm on a roll tonight.
That's right. Hashtag we support roof Koreans. That's right.
We do. I do. Roll call does. We had a whole conversation at one point about that. It's great.
Yep.
You know, I had a guy comment on the video, the episode of The Right of the People I did where we were talking about how Grandmaster Jay got indicted for pointing rifles at federal law enforcement agents. And the guy said that it's amazing how you white people get all upset when black folk rise up. Listen, race has zero, nothing, nada, not a fucking thing to do with it. What it has to do with me is people being idiots. Because you know what? In the story that I just read, the pictures of the businesses that were being guarded by their owners and being defended by their owners that I applaud happening were black men. You know,
Right.
the Second Amendment is for every single one of us who wants to do so responsibly. The difference between what these men were doing and what Grandmaster Jackass was doing is they were acting responsibly and not pointing their rifle at federal fucking law enforcement for no reason.
Right, and if the guy was such an expert in firearms, he would know that he's breaking one of the cardinal rules of firearm safety.
Yeah.
Never point your gun at something you are not willing to destroy.
Yeah, you don't glass an area with your scope. It's because that means you're pointing your gun at whatever you're glassing.
Exactly. So.
No, Mike, that was number 2 or 3, I think. Mike wants to know if that was the first F word. Nope, that was 2 or 3.
He's not counting right now, so just don't worry about it.
Rich White says it was the second. Yeah.
It's actually the third.
The third?
But I digress.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
I like A-Dub's comment. Shovel K-47s are the future.
Yeah. The shovel AK is actually kind of neat. I've seen that.
Yeah. I saw the full breakdown on how the guy did it because he documented everything, and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I don't know, just these people that want to take 30 round magazines, want to use these atrocities to further their agenda. You know, it's just I think the people that buy this crap are just absolutely stupid. Speaking of absolutely stupid. And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week. First up in Moron of the Week is this piece from Breitbart. Reporter from The Trace claims people snap ghost guns together within minutes. The Trace reporter Elaine Stevens claims people buy gun parts kits and snap so-called ghost guns together within minutes. On April 8, 2021, President Joe Biden announced executive action against guns built from parts kits, repeatedly referring to the firearms as ghost guns. NPR interviewed Stevens 2 days later, saying, "So President Biden says he wants to rein in so-called ghost guns. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, what are those?" Stevens responded, "These weapons are essentially something that you could snap together within minutes." He continued, "And because of this, such guns have appealed not only to, hobbyists who want to build their own weapons and do so a lot easier, but it's also appealed to, essentially the criminal underworld who have essentially two really good reasons for doing this. One, you can get this weapon without having to go through background checks. If you have a criminal record or anything like that, none of that applies. The key component of guns built from kits is the receiver rifle or frame pistol, both of which come only partially finished and are thus labeled as 80% receivers / 80% frames. Receivers and frames are available in polymer or metal, and just finishing the job to the point where it can accept parts and be functional takes far more than mere minutes. For example, with a metal 80% frame, the first step in the process of building a pistol involves milling / drilling the remaining 20% of the frame that was not completed. That requires certain tools and or machines and the knowledge necessary to use them. It also requires time. Once a metal 80% frame for a pistol is finished, it can take some work to mate the parts kit with the frame in a way that creates a reliable firearm. Again, this takes time and is a process that requires some degree of gunsmithing knowledge or access to someone who has such knowledge. This is because it is not uncommon to have to polish or shave aspects of certain parts in order to correct the fit and have the firearm operate reliably. Yeah, no kidding. I still haven't gotten my Glock 17 P80 to be reliable yet. Otherwise, a firearms enthusiast can end up with a gun that shoots once, then locks open or fails to fire, or displays any number of issues due to parts with rough edges or a slight misfit. After spending all the time required to complete the metal frame, then polish, shave, and otherwise fine-tune various parts, maybe then the gun can be snapped together within minutes. Yeah, I do not have my Polymer 80 done yet because of that very thing. It'll fire once and then jam. I think I need to do the same thing that the Obnoxious one did and just polish and get some final fitting on my rails. The rail to slide fit, I think, is a little bit off. So what's this dude's name? Stevens? Elaine Stevens. So Elaine Stevens is the first contestant on Moron of the Week. But we're not going to be outdone here, right? Because good old Sniffy Joe, he decided that he's been outside of Moron of the Week for too long and needed to return. This is another piece from Breitbart. Joe Biden's Second Amendment had limits from the very beginning. During Thursday's comments from the Rose Garden, President Joe Biden claimed the Second Amendment has had limits from the very beginning. Biden said, "No amendment. No amendment to the Constitution is absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater and call it freedom of speech. From the very beginning, you couldn't own any weapon you wanted to own. From the very beginning that the Second Amendment existed, certain people weren't allowed to have weapons." Yes, I know, Joe, they were called slaves, and that's why we have the Second Amendment to begin with.
Actually, slaves could own guns, Mike.
Could they?
Documented evidence of it.
News.
Cool. Good. Believing Second Amendment rights are limited, Biden also believes passing gun control to further restrict those rights is no infringement. He said nothing I'm about to recommend in any way impinges on the Second Amendment. They're phony arguments suggesting that these are Second Amendment rights at stake from what we are talking about. But the Bill of Rights serves a different purpose than the Constitution. Whereas the Constitution enumerates powers that the people relegate to the federal government and also describes how those powers are to be used, the Bill of Rights lists specific rights that the people possess as part of their humanity. Thomas Jefferson alluded to those rights in the Declaration of Independence when he said, "We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights." He pointed out that these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A decade and a half later, the rights were fleshed out with greater specification in the Bill of Rights, with James Madison stating that Americans' gun rights shall not be infringed. One of the chief purposes of the Bill of Rights was to declare that the people possessed rights integral to their humanity, and those rights were not under the government's purview, because they did not come from government. So, old Sniffy Joe, I swear to God, he does look like Jeff Dunham's puppet Walter.
You should have seen the debate of Walter versus Walter. It was good. It was good.
But
people should beware of any president who says that constitutional rights are not absolute. That I mean, what he said didn't just affect the Second Amendment. It affects the entire Constitution, every word of it. Beware of people like that.
He said that, so you know what that means. That amendment that freed all the slaves, that can be walked back too, because he said that.
yeah, everything can be walked back. Everything can be tread upon. Everything can be walked upon. Everything can be infringed because none of it matters. None of them are absolute. So Sniffy Joe is contestant number 2 on Moron of the Week.
Yep.
So
they can also walk back on the alcohol too.
So who do you guys like the most, Elaine Stevens or Sniffy Joe? Squib, reporter guy, or President Touchy?
Come on, man. You know it's going to be creepy Uncle Joe.
All right, got one vote for Sniffy Joe. Roll call. Who gets your vote? Uncle Touchy or Elaine Stevens?
That piece of shit, Joe Biden.
It's the only time you'll vote for him, right? Night Strike.
Okay, so what you need to do is you need to fire off 2 shots. All you need is a double barrel shotgun.
All right. I am assuming that's going to be a vote for Uncle Touchy. So
Yeah,
out there
exactly
in the chat,
his words.
out there in the chat, you know what to do. Let me know, who do you think deserves to be Moron of the Week? Elaine Stevens for Ghost Guns Can Just Snap Together in Minutes, or President Sniffy for Constitutional Rights Are Not Absolute?
I think we can call this one already.
Yeah.
Artax says Joe. Well, you know what? We're not CNN. We're not, or Fox News. We're not going to call the election just yet. We're going to make Joe actually win this one.
Your journalistic integrity.
Defense Dad says Biden is a contestant for Moron of the Week. He wins every time, no contest. So I'm going to count that as a vote for Joe. Buck says Joe. Mike Warhorse says Joe. Anybody else want to vote for Joe? Anybody want to vote for Elaine Stevens? Speaking of which, Rich White votes for Elaine Stevens because it's already established that Joe's a moron. Carly Ellison says President 2 shots Biden.
All right.
Scorch says Joe open borders Biden. Right now we got 9 for President Sniffy and 1 for reporter Rectum Head.
2 for Stevens.
2 for Stevens. Woohoo!
Well, Stevens was really dumb. I really think it was Joe.
Yeah.
On this one.
Going once. Sleepy Joe. So we got 10 for Sleepy Joe. I say we're going to go ahead and call this for Joe Biden. He is the Moron of the Week.
And that vote was
And there we had another tale of stupidity in this week's episode of Moron of the Week.
Yeah, he won that one fair and square, right?
Yeah, that's the only one he won fair and square.
Yep. Well, folks, those of you who have been here before know what's coming next. Since we've just done Moron of the Week, We are going to move on to Roll Call 219's favorite challenge by taking a dirt nap. It is where I'm reveling in the proposition that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to keep the bad guy from making him do the same. First up is this piece from WSAZ.com. Neighbors shocked after homeowner shoots naked intruder. From April 12th. Lincoln County, West Virginia. West Virginia State Police say a man who had stripped down to nothing tried to break down someone's door Monday morning. The man came face to face with the homeowner, who was armed with a gun and ready to defend his house. As most people are in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, troopers in Lincoln County say it was 2 a.m. Monday, and Jeffrey Roberts II, 28, was wide awake, naked, and breaking into someone's home. Did he just come from the Super 8? Neighbors like Bruce Tully are still stunned. Yeah, I'm shocked. I don't know why he would have been at his door, pounding on his door at 2 a.m., Tully said. Roberts picked the wrong house along Bulger Road in Alcohol. Troopers said the homeowner, who's in his 60s, grabbed his gun and opened fire, hitting the naked suspect in the shoulder as he tried to break down the door. Tully said he is familiar with both Roberts and the homeowner. I'm aware of him, the victim. The victim, they seem to be very good people, Tully said. Tully said he doesn't know why Roberts would do this. It's not something where it is a crime-infested area, he said. Roberts was taken to the hospital and is in stable condition. Troopers said no charges will be brought against the homeowner, and so far, no charges have been filed against Roberts. State police are still asking questions and investigating the wild wake-up call that has the whole neighborhood talking and on high alert. I was a little shocked that it happened. Those are things that don't happen, Tully said. I suspect that when it comes down to it, meth is a hell of a drug. But I'm just guessing.
Could be.
Next up, this piece from Fredericksburg.com from the Lance Star. Caroline police say man shot after assaulting his grandmother. Well, let me answer this silly survey to, have you seen, heard, or read about the made-to-crave menu from Wendy's? No. Now I can read the article. A Ruther Glen man was arrested following an incident in Caroline County on Thursday night that ended with him being shot, police said. Jeremiah R.A. Johnson, 29, was charged with malicious wounding, auto larceny, driving on a revoked license, and assault and battery. He was placed in the Pamunkey Regional... I'm sure I'm not saying that right. Pamunkey
Sounds like a pillar of the community.
Regional Jail Friday after being treated at a hospital for a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to the lower extremity, Sheriff Tony Lippa said. Police said the shooting occurred about 10 p.m. outside a home in the Campbell Creek subdivision. The shooting victim had been at the home earlier in the day, police said. Don't call this guy a victim. During that visit, police said he struck his grandmother in the head with a pair of pliers and took her car. When he returned to the home Thursday night, Lippa said, another relative was there to protect the grandmother. During the ensuing altercation, Johnson was shot. Yeah, Johnson was not I hate it when news articles do this shit. Johnson was not the victim. He's the fucking perpetrator. The man suspected of shooting Johnson had not been charged as of Friday, Lippa said. The investigation is still in progress. Whoever wrote that story should be in Moron of the Week.
Yeah, but we already called it for Biden.
Yeah, I know. This is by Kathy Reeks from 4721. One of two men was shot after the duo allegedly forced their way into a home to confront the resident about a previous altercation. Andre Fogo, age 32, and Rachane Wilson, age 28, both from the village of Monticello, probably Monticello, were arrested on Friday, April 2nd, after New York State Police responded to a report of a shooting in Monticello, said Trooper Stephen Neville. When troopers arrived on the scene, they found that the victim, later identified as Wilson, not the victim, had been driven to Garnett Health Medical Center in Catskill for treatment of the gunshot wound, Neville said. Troopers located the vehicle as it arrived at Garnett Health Medical Center, Catskill. An investigation revealed that both Fogo and Wilson forced their way into an apartment to confront the resident about a previous altercation, Neville said. Fogo and Wilson began beating the resident of the apartment. Another individual in the apartment fired his weapon and struck Wilson, he added. Fogo and Wilson then fled the area. The individual who fired the weapon is a licensed gun owner and provided the state police with all proper documents. Wilson was treated and released with non-life-threatening injuries. State police took custody of Andre Fogo and Rachane Wilson and charged both with burglary and remanded them to Sullivan County Jail in lieu of bail. The New York State Police were assisted by the Village of Monticello Police Department, Sullivan County Sheriff's Office, and the Sullivan County District Attorney's Office. Again, this guy is not the victim. The victim is the person that they were beating. The victim is the person that was forced to use deadly force to defend himself and another from their depredations. These guys are the perpetrators. No media bias, though.
They're scum.
Next up, from concealednation.org. Woman shoots man breaking into her apartment by Edgar Lee from 4/9/21. Lexington, Kentucky. A man is now behind bars after being shot during a burglary early Tuesday morning. A 911 call was received around 3:30 a.m. from a woman who reported shooting at a man who was breaking into her apartment in the 500 block of Hollow Creek Road, just off Russell Cave Road. When police arrived, the man had fled the scene on foot. Around 3:45 a.m., they were notified of a man who had walked into a hospital with a gunshot wound. They were able to determine that the wounded man seeking treatment was the man who broke into the woman's dwelling at Caballo Crossing's apartment. He was identified as 42-year-old Keith Jackson. After being treated for his injuries and released from the hospital, he was arrested and booked into the Fayette County Detention Center on charges of burglary and terroristic threatening. No mention of charges has been made with respect to the occupant, who is believed to have fired in self-defense. Kentucky is one of many states with a castle doctrine, which gives citizens the right to use deadly force to protect themselves, others, and their property. It is based on the assumption that anyone entering a place of residence illegally is intent on harming or killing the occupants, and the occupants have no duty to retreat before using lethal force in self-defense.
Sounds about right.
Yep. And last, but most certainly not least, is this piece from kktv.com. Man found dead in East Springs hours after violating restraining order. Colorado Springs, Colorado, from March 25th, 2021. This is actually kind of old. Why do I have this? This is like April 15th. It's from March 25th. Somehow this snuck in, but hey, I didn't read it back then, so let's go with it. Colorado Springs, Colorado. A man suspected in a stalking incident Monday night was found dead the following day in a Colorado Springs neighborhood. Police say they are investigating the man's death as a homicide. According to a news release from the Colorado Springs Police Department, officers were first called to the 2500 block of East Buenaventura Street around 9:20 p.m. Monday on reports of shots fired. Upon arrival, officers contacted two reporting parties, a male and a female, who advised that the female's estranged boyfriend intentionally contacted her, violating a restraining order issued due to a history of domestic violence, CSPD said. As the incident escalated, the ex-boyfriend began assaulting the man, and the man retaliated by firing his gun several times. The man told officers he was not sure if the suspect was injured. Responding officers initiated a case report for a restraining order violation as well as stalking. The officers did not come in contact with his estranged boyfriend at this time. About 9 hours later, police were called to the same street block. Oh, actually, we did read this back then. Called to the same street block on reports of a man lying face down and very still in the snow. Responding officers determined that the man was dead, and it was the same suspect from the night before. He's since been identified as 41-year-old Oda Williams. Investigators believe Williams drove his estranged girlfriend street in a blue Honda or similar vehicle with possible Colorado license plate. Another man was seen leaving the area Tuesday night in the same car following the fight. So, yeah, we talked about this one before. But still, even though it is old, it still illustrates the fact that people use firearms to defend themselves from scumbags all the time. And that, folks, is what the Second Amendment is all about. Not just on a private individual level, but on the macro level against the violent scumbags of a totalitarian government. With that in mind, it's time to start wrapping things up. I'd like to thank my esteemed panel for coming and being a part of this. Night Strike, is there anything you'd like to plug? Any final words? Any wisdom you would like to leave us with?
Just shall not be infringed, and never visit that hotel in St. Clair.
Yep, Super 8 in St. Clair, Missouri is probably not a good place to stay.
It is off
probably.
limits.
It's absolutely not a good place to stay.
I'm just surprised you didn't find used needles. I'm just surprised.
We didn't stick around long enough to look. We were out of there as soon as humanly possible. Roll call. Do you have anything for us, sir?
Just thanks for having me. Go check out my stuff on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications, or just leave a comment. All that stuff is groovy. Thanks for having me.
And last but most certainly not least, Squibload. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Any words of wisdom you have for us?
For those out there who think the government is tracking you and going to take control of your vehicle because you have a smartphone app that allows you to unlock the doors, next time around, you might want to get a car like that, budget. You ain't got to call AAA and wait for them to come by. It's not all, there's plenty of people out there that say, oh, you don't want one of those. They're going to take control of your car and run you off the road. I can lock and unlock my doors anywhere on the planet. So.
Yeah. And hello, John Crump. How are you?
Hey, John
Say hi
Crump.
before we leave. I can't help it. You got here late, man. What the hell?
He was probably busy doing one of his live streams because he's
likely.
like live almost every day these days.
Most likely. John is working hard at what he does. That's a fact. I want to say, as usual, thanks to everybody for being here. You could have been doing anything on your Thursday night, but you chose to be here and listen to us. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to help out the channel, you can always join Patreon to support the channel there. But if you don't want to join Patreon, there will be a link below in the description where you can go to my Amazon influencer store, click on absolutely anything there. You ain't even got to buy it. Then go do the shopping you were going to do anyway. I'll get a little kickback from that because you came there from my store, and it doesn't cost you an extra single solitary dime, nothing but a couple clicks, and it helps me out, and you get the satisfaction of helping me out for nothing more than you were going to spend anyhow. So that's awesome. Be sure to check out my new series that I'm doing. So far, I've done 2 episodes on Woodsman Wednesdays, usually around 6 o'clock on Wednesday is when the 6 or 6:30 is when the video will drop. Usually I'll do it so far, both times I've done it as a premiere. Kind of like that. I'd like to have you guys come and hang out. This latest one had some bloopers attached to it, so, go check that out. And as always, we have this little thing here that we're doing, this right of the people thing, where we use the first to defend the second, usually on Fridays, but today it was a Thursday. Again, we have these gun control laws coming, and they're going to continue trying to strike while the iron's hot. We had a whole year last year where we didn't hear about these mass shootings, but now all of a sudden certain parties who are anti-gun have the White House and the Senate and the House of Representatives. So now we're hearing about them all the time because it advances their political agenda. We need to let them know that this stuff is not going to fly, that we are vigilant, that we are watching, that we know what they're doing, and that they will suffer electoral consequences if they continue. Send them a snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, carrier, pigeon, smoke signals, bicycle messengers, anything that you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up that fight. Talk to you guys on the next one.